Now, the next segment is about enterprise functional applications. We will discuss some use cases in various enterprise functions where AI has been able to create significant impact. Our first session, Science Behind Marketing, Assessing the Role of AI, aims to cover the impact AI can create in modern marketing. What are some roadblocks and how to handle those? We have with us Professor Laxminarayanan G, Senior Vice President and Global Delivery Head, Polestar Solutions. He's an experience management consultant with the enriching experience of providing AI and analytics consulting to many Fortune 500 companies over the last 15 years. He is joined by Rohit Prabhakar, Chief Marketing Technologist, EQ Holdings. Rohit is responsible for enabling growth of the portfolio companies using the power of digital marketing, data, and CX. Pleasure to have you both join us this afternoon. Over to you, Professor.
Good to connect with all of you today in this event. Hi, Rohit. How are you doing?
Hi, Lakshmi. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing good too, Rohit. So good to connect.
There seems to be a matching color over here going. Pink.
True, of course. So it's good to connect with you in this platform. So a very interesting topic for both of us to discuss and have a chat around this. A topic which is very much buzzing in the market about how we can use technology in marketing, how we can use technology for the growth of the firm. That's something which every organization is discussing, with every startup going into IPO phase. I think this is a buzzing topic of how to use data, how to get the best out of the data with the help of technology. So I'm sure this is going to be an interesting conversation for our audience too today. So with that, I would like to ask you the first question that crosses my mind when we think of this topic. See, marketing has evolved over a period of time, if you notice, and from your experience itself, what do you think is the role of technology in marketing in today's world?
Yeah, so Lakshmi, like as you know, I am a technologist first and a marketer after that. What I have seen is like I entered the world of marketing when mostly it was not being driven by technology. MarTech was not even the keyword that was being used across the industry. It was the very, very beginning. And in fact, I remember when at the first MarTech conference, or even before the conference, the first MarTech LumaScape was put together by Luma partners, not by even currently like Scott Brinker runs it, a very good friend of mine. Even Luma partners used to do it. So like I entered marketing at that point of time when it was just on the verge of like technology entering marketing. So personally, over all these years, what I have seen when I think about technology's role in marketing is like technology has become the brain of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, technology cannot take over entirely the creativity. The creativity is still with all those amazing marketers, all the people who are in marketing teams, and thanks to their creativity that we still enjoy marketing today, like great ads, advertisement, like content and all those type of things. But it's technology is becoming more and more brain. That's the first thing. Second is like efficiency in execution. That's what technology brings. That's a super powerful thing. And in fact, I feel that's the first place where it all started, because marketers were looking for efficiency in their systems, similar to IT systems, where there was efficiencies across those systems. And the last thing I would say is like now as more and more agile is being used in marketing, and what does whole agile thing is? It is about creating outcomes more consistently, quickly, not over a period of a quarter or a year, but like you can create on a matter of days, right? And that would not be possible if there is no technology, because technology brings that agility into marketing. So that's what I see as the role of technology in marketing.
Good. And you brought in this aspect that, it's a brain now. The beauty of creativity with the brains of technology. I think that's a beautiful combination to have in the marketing space. But tell me one thing. See, when I go and talk to the clients, the CXOs and the CMOs, when I have conversation about technology and marketing, I see one segment of audience who always thinks that, oh, it's a buzzword now, Lakshmi. I don't think there is nothing happening in the space. Everybody is talking about it. And on the other side, people are excited to use technology, and there are companies which are driving it in a better way. So what do you think? Is this still a buzzword, or do you see practical implementations going on?
Large-scale practical implementations, that's what I have seen. And I cannot speak about others. I can speak about what I and my teams have done in the period of, I would say like 10, 12 years now. 10 years ago, yes, the answer would have been, oh, it's a buzzword, just like big data. What happened with big data? I don't know. Like there was a small data that made things happen. Similar is like in this industry. So when you talk about digital transformation marketing, so Lakshmi, before this role, I have run digital transformation for two very large organizations. One is a Fortune 7, another one is a Fortune 500. I've run very, very big projects for them. And it's no more a buzzword, especially when you talk about digital transformation in marketing. In fact, I would say it has even evolved a little further from marketing. It has now moved on to market, like sales, and a very big extent to service. When you talk about self-service, things like those, digital transformation is literally driving those areas. So, like if I talk about outcomes, so to prove that it's not a buzzword, one of the companies that I worked for and we led the digital transformation of marketing, when we started, the company was doing $0, Zippo, when it comes to like dollars from digital, any revenue from digital. And as part of the business case, we have not promised anything until end of year 3 because digital transformation takes time. I'm happy to share that like in just second year, we had closed around $250 million in net new revenue from digital. So it's no more a buzzword. But of course, there are a lot of wasted digital transformations. I was reading somewhere like 75-80% of digital transformations fail. So of course, there are a lot of failed ones.
Good. So when we talk about technology, see, that's a broader term today. So digital transformation, again, it's a broader term. So in your experience, what do you think are the technologies which marketers should focus on? Like AI, big data, we have so many buzzwords in the market. So which one do you think are the technologies which marketers should focus on now?
So when you talk to marketers and you talk about technology, MarTech is what everybody talks about, right? MarTech. And it has been a great addition to marketing. MarTech has enabled marketing. So when I look at the categories, and I would recommend like anybody who is not familiar with MarTech landscape from Scott Brinker, you must go and look and just search for it. Like he's the godfather of MarTech. Amazing person. He has put a lot of effort into that. But when I look at his categories, I feel like there's some categories that stand out very, very strongly for me. One is around content and experience, because that's where everything started with CMS systems.
True.
People wanted to have better experience, personalized experiences, things like those, in-time experiences, context-aware experiences. Because I don't want to go to a website that doesn't understand who am I. If I'm your customer, I want you to carry on my journey, not start show me the same thing again and again. Even after I have bought like a pair of pajamas from you, you are still trying to sell me the same pair. That's like not good, right? You don't want that experience. You want to run away from that company. Second is advertising and promotions. That's where I have seen like technologies are playing, I think, super role, even a bigger role than anything else. That's a place where I've seen the most of the technology and AI, social, and building relationships with customers, with your prospects. Next is data. Data analytics, AI is another category. E-commerce or digital sales. And the last one, I would say overall management. Like it could be a management of your content. It could be management of your workflow, things like those. That's where I've seen like some of the technologies playing a key pivotal role. Well, there are new areas coming up, but those are the key areas. And like, let me take this a chance, Lakshmi, because you have a great amount of experience. Like you work for a large company, you own the entire delivery for this large company into the same space. And you are also like a visiting professor to like a lot of IIMs. And anybody who's watching this from America, IIM is like a Wharton and Harvard of our, like American Wharton and Harvard. It's like what IIM stand for in India. And you are a visiting professor. So what do you think, like, is like digital transformation still a buzzword, or have you seen beyond buzzword?
No, you rightly spoke about it in the previous one. Like digital was a buzzword 10 years back or 7-8 years back. Like we always say that everyone talks about it, everyone wants to do it, and nobody knows who is doing it. That was the state of digital 7-8 years back. But today, I think people have realized that, okay, if you invest in digital, it's going to take some time, but the maturity of the systems are going to be faster, and which is going to give them much better results. So the conventional use cases, like as you mentioned, like sales forecasting with the help of data, or segmenting the customers, creating micro segments, nano segments. These were some of the popular use cases, or predicting the revenue. These were some of the popular use cases with the structured data that people are talking about. Of course, I mean, you mentioned about big data. I think some of them are playing around with big data to an extent today to understand what the customer is thinking about them, the basic sentiment analysis. In fact, trying to predict what the customer is going to buy. I mean, is he a shopper or a window shopper, especially when an e-commerce site like Amazon trying to find out the behavior of the customers. So there is a huge transformation that has happened, especially with the digital technologies that have come into picture. Now, the beauty is, on one side, we have technologies which automate things, and on the other side, they have technologies which can bring in the bit of intelligence on top of automation, like AI and other technologies. So automation brings in data, AI kind of technologies brings intelligence on top of it. Together, I think marketers like you and me are getting benefited in a bigger way with all these technologies coming together. So that's where I see that, Rohit, to be honest, today. But I have an interesting question for you, because considering the buzzword of AI and everything, and AI also, I think we have gone through this maturity like until 2-3 years back, everyone was talking about AI, but they were all hesitant to pick that up. Like whether is it going to work in my organization? Is that right? And other things. But today we are seeing a lot of use cases being used or implemented in AI context, in marketing context. What is a low-hanging fruit for you if you want to adopt AI? If you are suggesting some organizations to adopt AI, what do you think are the low-hanging fruits which companies can adopt? Quickly, just as a quick.
No, sure, Lakshmi, and my answer will be based on around like 10 years of playing with AI, failed ones and some successful ones. Recently, more success than all previous years. I feel like some of the areas where I have seen AI to be very, very powerful and of immense help to marketers is competitive insights. You would normally need a lot of analysts to pull together like some useful insights from the data. That's, I feel like, the first place. And it could be just not marketing, sales, service, overall customer lifecycle like insights to understand what is the customer behavior and going in deep into that, understanding who is your customer and what's their behavior. Because until you don't understand that, I don't think you can be a good marketer. So that's where I really feel AI is super powerful. There are some really good technologies out in the market that you can use. Next one where I have practically seen a power of artificial intelligence is personalized, contextual, and just-in-time experiences. You can build it across e-commerce. You can build it on your marketing websites, corporate websites, products. Like we often forget about like there is experience within products. And that's where we can use that. And I would say another place where I have seen a big power, two other places, is e-commerce. I think e-commerce is in the forefront because every time a customer is over there, it's about dollar. It's not about a lead.
True.
So it's about a dollar. So e-commerce is leading the whole way, and B2C and B2B, like I would say, equally are playing very, very well because it's more about humans and they behave the same way, whether they are B2B or B2C. And the last one I would say is audience targeting, is because once you know who they are, now you can target them. And if you have strong AI in place, I have seen very successful account-based marketing programs in the B2B space.
Good. You touched a beautiful point when you mentioned about the understanding of the customer. I mean, in fact, I would say that with the kind of technology that we have brought in with analytics and artificial intelligence, I think now even marketers are getting a better understanding of who their customers are. So in traditional marketing, it was slightly a bit of a challenge to handle the data, and especially the behavioral aspects, as you rightly mentioned. So that's something it's really tough for people to measure it and manage it. Today, understanding the behavior of the customers, segmenting them basis that, and targeting them is something which has become practically possible with the kind of tools that AI has brought in. I think that's the reality. And yes, no doubt, e-commerce, anything that we do online is getting captured. And anything that is captured is data. The moment we have data, we can do wonders with it with the help of artificial intelligence. And I think that's where it makes a difference. But one question I would like to ask as a follow-up one, you mentioned about the B2B space. There is a strong perception that in B2B, the cases are more corporate-centric. That is, internal to the organization, you have more AI use cases. And in B2C, you have more on the customer point of view, thinking about the customer. So is there anything like that, like B2B versus B2C, the AI use cases are going to be different? Is that the case?
I haven't seen that, Lakshmi, because of course I am tagged as a B2B guy mostly. But I feel like I have a good amount of experience on the B2C side. I personally don't feel there's a difference because it ends up being a customer. Think about you and me. Even if we buy something for our organization, we sign off millions of dollars of investments into what we do. But we are trained by Amazon and those type of experiences, B2C experiences.
True. I agree.
So there's no difference personally, I feel.
Yes. So, but tell me one thing, is it so easy to implement AI, Rohit? Like the way Amazon does?
Not at all. I'm sure they failed like 100 times. I have failed 1,000 times before I had a successful one.
What kind of challenges you face when you implement AI? Because everyone thinks that, oh, AI is magical. Yes, they understand the power of technology. But when the rubber hits the road, that's where the real challenge comes in. So what do you think of the challenges?
And I know, Lakshmi, like you are into consulting, and I'm not going to like say anything in don't take it in the wrong way. I feel like when vendors speak, both platform and implementation vendors, they make it like that, but it's not like that. It's not so easy, because your AI will be as good as the data that you have, the availability of that data, the quality of that data, right? And once you have like the data available and you have a good quality of data available,
True.
and you have data that is right for that context, that what you are trying to do, you need to have data that can be activated in micro or super milliseconds, so that you can use that in like the real-time experience making. And that's where I feel like like a lot of times we buy softwares and we directly go and say, oh, we'll just implement this software and it will make it happen. No, like you have to go through that data life cycle and to have that data that can be activated. And then on the top, you need a stack that can enable activation of that data in real time.
True. So maybe I think we are just getting into the last segment for our audience for them to understand this aspect, because I would like to take your opinion on this aspect. Like implementing technology for marketing, if they need to start their AI journey tomorrow, what would you advise? Do they need to set up their own team and experiment with data and come up with interesting solutions? Or do you think they need to outsource, get the help of experts and do it? What do you think is the right way?
I would say it's a mixture of all of those. I would definitely not outsource everything. Based upon the size of the company, if you can afford an internal team, I would definitely build at least one person on the team who understands what's your business model, who's your customer, what do you sell, and how do they like to buy, those type of things, and like somebody who is on the inside. But then definitely I feel like this journey cannot be started, continued, and completed without help from outside, because there are companies, they are consultants like who are expert at these things, who have done it multiple times. So if you do it, it may take 1 year. If you do it with them, it may take 15 days. And then the third thing I would say, you also need like technology partner. So I would say combination of all three. That's what I personally would recommend, and I have done every single time. You always crawl, walk, run. And when you are in the run phase, you can be more independent. But in the crawl and walk space, you need partners.
Agreed. No, this is something even I would like to reiterate to our audience, that whenever we are using artificial intelligence or data for our problems, the functional knowledge of the problem, the understanding of the problem is very, very important to find the solution with the help of technology. So the joint ownership, as you rightly mentioned, the joint ownership between the company and the implementation partner, both the teams coming together and looking at the problem with one lens, one perspective, that itself is a journey for a lot of organizations. And they need to take this journey, and sometimes it's longer, depending on the maturity of the systems in the organization. But if they work together, I think they can do wonders with all the data. So good. So maybe one last question from my end before we wrap it up in the interest of time. If I ask you 3 takeaways that people should think about marketing plus technology, implementing technology for marketing. If I ask you 3 big takeaways for them, what they should think about, what do you think would be that? Your response.
That's a tough one. So three most important ones I would say is first is focus on quick wins and small wins. When you start your journey, if you think about a big bang approach, it will fail because marketing often is challenged with perception of their value in the organization. So the most important thing is when you are in a new journey, especially with marketing technology or in general digital transformation or marketing, focus on small, quick wins because it will create a momentum for you. And this is something I write regularly on my blog, which is rohitprabhakar.com. I always love to talk, like to write on this topic because it's so important. Quick wins. That's one. Second thing is I will start small instead of going and investing a huge chunk of money because this is one of the big key buzzwords and every CMO wants to invest into this. I have scaled back implementations big time from like down by a couple of $1 million because we always right now most large companies are overspending on marketing technology. That's the second thing. And the third thing I would say is it's not about marketing technology. It's about marketing. It's about outcomes. Marketing technology implementation and projects is just 20% of what it takes to create revenue from marketing. And in order to have a successful all of these things together, you need to have a program that enables the marketers to use this marketing technology and get the outcomes they want to get out of the marketing technology implementations.
Very true, Rohit. So, I mean, one point which I can resonate very well while working with the clients, that is at the end of the day, we should not be under pressure to adopt technology. So we are here to solve problems in marketing. So marketing, what is the pain area for you? Look at it from that point of view and try to adopt the right technology to solve your problem. And that itself is a learning process. We think machine is going to learn and solve our problems from the data, but honestly speaking, we are the ones who are learning with the machines about how to solve our problems with the help of data. And that is a learning journey which all of us go through. And I'm sure our audience today are going to pick up this skill and try to see how they can implement, how they can use AI to a greater extent to solve problems in their marketing domain. Thank you, Rohit. Thanks for patiently having this discussion and answering the questions that I had from a curious mind. Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure discussing with you in this forum.
Thanks, Lakshmi. Thanks, NASSCOM. It's always great to speak for NASSCOM and like connect with so many amazing people like you.
Thank you, NASSCOM. Thanks a lot for this opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Laxminarayanan and Rohit, for that wonderfully stitched conversation.